I'm delighted to welcome you to this session on technical training. We very much look forward to your input in this session while it's convened by APNIC and the APNIC Foundation, and we have a presentation. Please understand this is very much your session where we're looking to get your comments and your input about the challenges of technical training in the Asia Pacific and the priorities that you think need to be focused on in terms of subjects and delivery mechanisms. And we're really looking forward to a vibrant, multi-stakeholder, multidisciplinary discussion around technical capacity building efforts and how we can improve them in the region. So there's a document there that we'd invite you to contribute to. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Duncan Macintosh. I'm the CEO of the APNIC Foundation, which is essentially the fundraising arm, if you like, of APNIC. We were founded in 2017 to support and increase investment in the APNIC development program in the region. And since then, we've been very fortunate to receive strong support for the APNIC development program through the foundation. That's allowed us to do a number of projects, including a large technical training project in Papua New Guinea. We have an ongoing technical training project in the Pacific as well for 5 economies, Samoa, Vanuatu, Solomons, Tonga and Fiji. We've just started another project to support diversity in the technical training community in Southeast Asian economies of Cambodia, Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand, which is just getting going now, and you'll be reading a lot more about. Very pleased to have that project. And many of you would know our project that we've finished now in the Pacific that supported CERT development in the Pacific as well. That's cybersecurity, computer emergency response teams. So the foundation has some good experience in technical training programs in the Pacific particularly, but of course APNIC has 20 years or more experience, and I'm very pleased to see in the audience Champika joining us. Hi, Champ. Great to have you in this session. I did not take over from Champika, but I did join APNIC as the development director working in training, and was very fortunate to have Champika to guide me and advise me on the challenges facing training. And we'll be having a presentation shortly from Cheng, who is the new infrastructure and development director. Well, not new, he's been there quite a few years now, 2 or 3 years, and he'll be presenting on that. But before we get to that, I did want to highlight to those in this that we have run a small survey on SurveyMonkey to gather input for the session, and we asked a number of questions. And let me just briefly note the input that we've had for the survey, where the people are, some of the feedback that we've only got a very, very small number, but still I wanted to recognize that input from the SurveyMonkey survey that we ran as part of this multi-stakeholder dialogue on technical training in the region. So one of the surveys, when we asked what technical topics were important to them, they focused on DNS and the setup there. When we asked about barriers to participation, they cited a lack of financial resources, a lack of institutional support, and poor or unreliable connectivity as barriers to their participation. When we asked what are the barriers you've experienced to incorporate what you've learned in the training in your daily work, they cited in some cases where they'd learned a different technical environment, for example, learning using open source tools, but then you end up working with equipment from a specific vendor. I think for those of you who are familiar with the technical training, that's a very good example of the challenges facing it. And then another question was, how can we encourage more people to take up technical capacity building? we said the answer response, we need to do more networking around the community. We need to mentor people to participate in the technical capacity building that's available, not just from APNIC, but other organizations like ICANN, ISOC, and we need to partner more with organizations. So some good feedback there. And then we also asked, are you aware of any other organizations in APAC providing technical training? And they said it's a very big area. Of course, apart from the organizations I've just mentioned, a lot of vendors do training in the region as well. And then finally, the survey asked what the APrIGF and other regional fora can do to improve and support technical capacity building. And again, the person who took the survey suggested partnering. So that gives you a feel of the sort of subjects and the questions that we're really looking forward to you contributing to. And we look forward to the discussion. But let me hand over now to Chehu for his presentation. So Chehu, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Can I have the slides? Oh, thank you. This is Chehu Cheng. I'm the Infrastructure and Development Director of APNIC. In the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to go through, the technical capacity building work done by APNIC, so as to, set the scene. Just 5 minutes, very quick. Next slide, please. We do internet development. Our mission is to run internet number registry, of course, as well as to support internet development in the region. What we do include training and technical assistance on internet infrastructure related topics. And this is our core, internet development work for technical capacity building. In addition to training and technical assistance, we also do internet infrastructure support, technical community support, and security community support. Next slide, please. Regarding training, our training is mainly internet infrastructure focused, and we do vendor neutral training. We try not to, of course, bias on vendors. And we target to train those working network engineers or system engineers primarily. And we also want to provide some infrastructure knowledge to the software developers as well, because we heard from the industry players saying that the software developers, although they do a lot of software development for the internet applications, but they don't really have enough infrastructure knowledge to make their application system efficient. That's why we want to help them as well. We have an APNIC Academy platform as the integrated online platform for blended learning. When I say blended learning, that means both online and face-to-face, instructor-led and self-paced. So people would maybe start from an online self-paced learning and then join our face-to-face training and then go back to study more. And we have been developing structured standard training content and food curriculum for quite some time. Of course, there's still a lot to do, and our training content is using the Creative Commons licensing term, so people are free to use our training content for any non-commercial use, so long as we are mentioned, and also when people further develop on our content, they just share with the same licensing terms as well. I must stress it's still work in progress, and there's a lot of work to do to make it perfect, but we'll do our best. Next slide, please. Regarding instructor-led training, of course, before COVID, we did mostly face-to-face training, and the training would be mostly intermediate to advanced level. And in order to let people to understand more about the knowledge, the subjects, we'll have share labs for the face-to-face training, so that people can collaborate on the labs exercise. And we also would ask the help from the experts in the community. We appoint them as community trainers from time to time, so that we can have people with real operational experience to help out on the training as well. And our training was mostly in English. And we also do online live webinars from time to time. Before COVID, we did it monthly, but nowadays we do fortnightly because of high demand. And we complement, the face-to-face training with live webinars. And live webinars would be mostly with educational nature. Next slide, please. And for the self-paced learning, all of course will be online, and we have online courses, virtual labs on our academy platform. People can do it anytime. And the level would mostly in like basic to intermediate level. And because we are doing online, we are able to provide some multilingual support. We do translation to 8 languages. We are hoping to do more so that people can understand the topics more easily with their local languages. And these training would also be served as the prerequisite of our advanced instructor-led training. So before they attend our advanced instructor-led training, they are supposed to go through the basic intermediate level self-paced training online courses on our platform first, so that we don't need to spend valuable face-to-face time for this kind of basic knowledge. Next slide, please. We also do, sorry, this is a typo. We call it technical assistance. We do tailor-made help to individual members on their deployment issue after they have attended our training. When they really do a deployment of the technology, they may run into issue. In that case, we provide help, maybe in face-to-face format, or maybe sometimes in online virtual video call, or maybe just over email, so as to help them to get through the obstacles. And this seems to be quite effective. Next slide, please. Yeah, but of course, after COVID, we cannot do face-to-face training anymore. And we took time to switch gear. And now all the instructor-led training is done online. And, we, of course, have to go through some trial period. At first, we ran into issue of maybe the time zone. And now we divide the whole region into 3 different regions: Oceania, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia. And for Oceania, of course, we need to do it, at very early time in Brisbane. And East Asia, Southeast Asia is somewhere in the middle, and South Asia we'll do it in later time. Sometimes we need to extend after office hours in Brisbane time. And we, after a few trial, we actually discovered that it's probably better to do multiple half days instead of all full days training, because people would be very tired, very exhausted if they attend online training full day. So yeah, and also for trainers as well. So we are not doing mostly multiple half times. So if needed, we'll do full day. Full day, but in normal cases, we'll do multiple half days. And we divide the training into theory and lab sessions. And we observe that more people are interested in the theory sessions. And then when we start the lab session, some people just skip it. But that's the reality, and we understand that may be the needs of some of the people, so we allow that happen. And we complemented this kind of an online instructor-led training by more live webinar, online courses, and virtual labs. And we witnessed increased usage of our academy users. Before COVID, we only had maybe 4,000 something users. Now we are reaching 10,000 users. And of course, the usage of the completion of the courses on virtual labs as well. Good to observe that. Next slide, please. Our future plan, we plan to have, of course, substantial scale up of our training with the funding of APIDT, our trust, and also APNIC Foundation. And we continue to leverage our academy platform with well-structured content and curriculum. So we want to have seamless integration for blended learning. And we'll also use the platform for online technical assistance so with advanced booking so that people can book our time for technical assistance. And we'll also expand our community trainers network so as to do more instructor-led training and also technical assistance in local languages. I think that's very important. And even if we can travel, I think we will continue to do online instructor-led training so as to cover, more people, more locations. After all, there's limitation for the travel. And we'll partner with universities, the research and education networks, and other partners so that we can do more training. And full certification would be our ultimate goal. That's a brief introduction of our training and our experience during COVID and our future plan. Over to you, Duncan.
Thanks very much, Chehu. That's a great introduction to just one example of technical training in the region. We're very fortunate to have a room full of people with experience from different perspectives. So let me jump straight in, and maybe I can invite Champika. I think many of you will know Champika, but Champika, could I invite you to talk about training from your perspective at ICANN, and maybe a quick introduction of yourself, Champika.
Hi, Duncan, and hi all. Thanks, Duncan, for inviting me. Actually, I did not expect that you would invite me to talk, but it's great to actually see you all in this session today. And also, I find that I totally agree with what you mentioned earlier, and also the pointers that Chehu went through now. And just for everyone, I'm Champika. I currently work for ICANN, but even in the past, I have been quite involved with APNIC training. So I do totally agree with the challenges, especially in terms of capacity building in the region. As you all know, Asia Pacific region is a very diverse region, and there are lots of economies that need a lot of capacity building. So from that aspect, APNIC has been always doing quite a lot in terms of providing this capacity building aspect to the community. So from ICANN perspective, our scope is quite limited in terms of the topics and the content scope, especially because our focus has been mostly in the area of DNS and the security aspects and so on. But we have always, try to have some collaboration, especially even with APNIC in supporting APNIC efforts, and also wherever there are opportunities to do these type of DNS, DNSSEC, security, and so on, these type of training, we are quite happy to contribute our efforts as well to complement the efforts that you do. And now from COVID, after COVID, we see there are a lot of challenges, especially, and now one of the biggest challenge that what we find is doing, because many of these technical training workshops that in the past we used to conduct could last for few days, and that would include a lot of hands-on type training contents, lab exercises, and things like that. But when you try to conduct these type of training sessions in an online type of environment, we would always find challenges out there, and also the connectivity aspect as well. Because some of the economies, as I said, they may not have the best bandwidth or so to follow through these type of training sessions. So this is something that we have found that some challenges out there, but we are, from ICANN side of a point of view, we're trying to actually work out some options to see more of hands-on type training in a cloud-based type of environment to see if that would help. So there are some development work happening around that area, but I know that in APNIC there are some established training and also even self-paced e-learning type training as well. So these options would quite helpful, especially in this period where the face-to-face training cannot be really conducted, or we could not really do those long lab type of training sessions. So these are a few things I think we, especially during this time, we can focus on, especially to have some and also the other challenge what we see is when you do this online type training, it is not very easy for us to carry on for say a few hours at a stretch, because always we will have to work on maybe like 1 to 2 hours max per session, and doing lab sessions within that short time period can also have some challenges. So having few sessions spread across like few days might be some options that you can think of. I think these are some pointers that I can think of, especially the challenges at this point of time. So if we can focus on these areas and try to improve, I think that would add a lot of value, I think. Yeah, few thoughts there.
Thank you, Champika. That's a good perspective. Thank you very much. I know that Leonard from APLDT is also in the room. Could we get the perspective from APLDT, Leonard? Leonard, are you there?
I am. Thank you. Yeah, finally I got my mic. Okay. So thanks very much, Duncan. I'm sorry, I was late for the beginning of this session. And I just caught up with some points I really wanted to make, and they were partly answered. Still, very few empirical observations, which I would like to share with you. Well, first of all, my concerns are trainers. So what I mean is that, how many of us who deliver training sessions or so-called training sessions are actually qualified teachers? I guess very few. And my concern at all times is that the best ever technical expert does not necessarily qualify for a good teacher. There is an it's an absolutely different area, and absolutely different skills, competences, and there should be some exposure to certain methodologies, which I do not necessarily see at all times when it comes to training sessions. I can vouch, for example, that Champika is a good trainer, but I don't know whether he kind of learned the art of training in any other way but doing training sessions. So it may be well the case for many, and given that it is my understanding that we are trying to expand our operation, it's really hard to imagine how we would be able to sustain this momentum without a proper knowledge of teaching methodologies. Secondly, I believe the greatest challenge is that we on many occasions, we don't know what our potential trainees need or want. Worse, they don't know it themselves. And that means that we operate in a situation of a complete uncertainty, which involves a lot of guesswork and a lot of effort basically to identify which challenges should be tackled first. Uh, 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 Coupled with yet another problem, which is language problem. Even for this forum in particular, we saw. We attended that panel session, and we could see that the gentleman from Taiwan was really fast talking fellow. And I believe that many of his very interesting observations and conclusions were effectively lost on the audience. Then what Champika has just mentioned is the fact that many of our efforts are quite patchy, and we still lack coordination between iStar organizations, so that to ensure a greater consistency and to make sure that we stay focused on certain issues when it comes to certain countries as well. Uh, so we don't need just to complement only each other efforts, but we need a more coordinated approach and a very well structured operation so that we could see how we can effectively build synergies, which is still missing, I believe, by and large. And that also goes, my concern also is about our audiences, potential trainees, which are very fluid. You deliver a session or a series of webinars to a group in a certain country, and then all of a sudden those people are gone, and you got to start it all over again with a different group. From the same, let's say, department or agency, or from the same stakeholder group, but absolutely different people, which means that all over and over, we just try to deliver the same webinars, but to different people, instead of building some meaningful curriculum for the same group of people, walking them through the whole cycle. And in that situation, I believe that we should also build and develop relationships with the universities, which was mentioned in that presentation. I believe that's a great twist in everyone's understanding and efforts to promote meaningful trainings. Because academic universities are not only about knowledge and expertise, but as I mentioned earlier, so much about teaching methodologies and making things more consistent and more structured. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leonard. Some great sort of thoughtful insights there. Very useful. I'd like to just pause for a minute. I'm going to invite Simon from Bangladesh next, but I do want to encourage those in the room. We've just heard from a number of very experienced people around their thoughts around technical training. So if you've got any questions, you'd like to make a comment, by all means, we'd love to hear from you. If you're in the room and listening to the discussion, what we're looking for particularly are your thoughts. If you've done some training recently or in the last 12 months, how did it go? What were the challenges? We're very interested to hear from you, and I'll look for you either chat but by all means just turn your microphone on. I don't mind if you shout out. It's no problem at all. But let's hear from someone out there, so to speak, on the ground. We're very pleased. I see Simon from Bangladesh in the room. Simon, can you give us your thoughts on technical training from the Bangladesh perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Duncan, for inviting me. You know that Bangladesh, internet is growing, economy is growing, so the demand is growing every day. And as a result, probably, if you look at the size of the country and number of ISP, probably we have the highest ratio in the world. So there's a lot of need for technical expertise and people to support these organizations. and that probably is mostly supported by the technical training we have done in the name of NOGs like SANOG, then BDNOG, and the local regional NOGs. And those NOGs are heavily supported by APNIC. And that's why I like to thank APNIC for patronizing these events, supporting with trainers, guidance, and with financial support as well. That really help us to build the networking people, their skill set, and knowing the best practices. So, in fact, this training is so popular in Bangladesh nowadays. If you just declare that we will have a training like that, and you need to post in a mail, that's enough in the mailing list. So you don't need to any publicity or anything. You'll find house full of room because people are so much interested. They're getting benefit out of it. So that's why they are actually interested for those trainings. And I can see that that actually brings a lot of new trainers also developed in Bangladesh. And we now kind of self-sufficient that we have a lot of trainer in different side in the routing, in the security area, in the cloud front. I think now we can see local expertise. It was not there 10 years before. That we always depended on the trainer from different countries, expertise from different countries. But now actually we are supporting other countries or other organizations in terms of training facilities. And that's why this training is so important. And if I make a comment about this new normal situation, that in the COVID time, actually how we should be doing trainings. And online training supporting a lot, but the most challenge what I feel that the difference between the hands-on technical training and the online training is the lab exercise. That thing is very, very important. And we're trying in somehow doing that, but still it's not that matured and a lot of complexity on it. And like Champika mentioned earlier, that a long session virtually is very difficult. So probably we need to figure out a way that how we can do that hands-on thing online if we need to live like this for maybe a longer period of time or so. So probably that we need to figure out because in the technical area, hands-on is a must. Without that, it's very, very difficult to implement something, or for someone to take the knowledge and implement by themselves. Sometimes it's become difficult, and it's very difficult to share for the trainer as well. The best practices, other thing, how to do it, troubleshooting especially. That it's a big challenge. So those areas probably we need to look for in the future, but probably still this online approach is the at this moment actually helping us to survive. Thank you very much, Duncan.
Thank you, Simon. Again, some very useful insights and thoughts there. Thank you very much. I know we've had some very good comments, but I also noticed in the room a number of women. It'd be wonderful to get some comments and feedback from women who've done training, technical training in the region. Could I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but please give it some thought. My colleague, Joyce Chen, who's working with me in this session, has prepared a Menti poll. So I'd like to invite Joyce now to introduce the Menti poll. And we'll come back and hopefully we can have some comments from women on their perspective on technical training. But Joyce, would you like to introduce the Menti?
Thanks very much, Duncan, and thanks also to all of those who have spoken so far. So I'm Joyce, and I'm from APNIC. I'd like to share with you this Menti link that is in the chat, and I will also share my screen so you can see the code. If you go to menti.com, you will be able to see this code, 7957974, and let me know if you face any difficulty entering this. The question that we're asking is, what technical topics would you like to learn about or that you think is important to learn? So just type your answer into the box and then click submit. You can also type multiple answers, so no worries. So we're starting to see some answers come in. Analytics of internet use, security. I imagine security would be something that we would keep hearing and seeing in today's session. Internet behavior, okay. Cyber norms, cybersecurity, routing, environmental impact. So just brainstorm as many topics as you think you would be interested to learn. You guys are doing great. IoT, internet resource, incidents reporting. Oh, I see IPv6, fantastic. End-to-end encryption. DNSSEC, very important topic. Now, don't limit yourself to just cybersecurity themes. Think about other technical topics that you would be interested in. So for myself personally, I'd always be interested in anything to do with cyber policy, for example, and how that might link to certain technical topics. Just waiting maybe a couple more seconds for more answers to come in. Don't limit yourself. We're getting some very, very good answers from you guys. Wow, this is very good. I see manners as well. That is a very important topic. Our ISOC folks can speak to this a lot more. BGP, cloud computing. All right, so as your answers keep coming in, I'm going to pass the time back to Duncan. Duncan, go ahead.
Thanks very much, Joyce, and thanks to everybody who's participating in that Menti poll. Your feedback, as you understand about the IGF processes, it's really important that we get your feedback and we get this level of community participation. And this session, as I said at the start, is all about hearing from you about the technical challenges and what can be done to keep technical training relevant and helpful to the community. It's the first time we've actually run a session like this in the APrIGF. So we're very pleased to be able to engage with the community of the APrIGF in this topic. I wonder if I could, Jampika, sorry to put you on the spot again, but I know I'm recalling that the survey result highlighted access to training as one of the challenges. And I know ICANN is as an example of one organization that through its conferences has started to think about how they can support participation. So it's not necessarily training, but participation in the ICANN conferences by providing support to people who need data to access the conferences. So I don't know, Jampik, if you're aware of that, or any of the other ICANN participants can talk about what's being offered there through that ICANN support for participation. Leonard, I can see that you're there. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Duncan. Thank you. That was a very interesting survey. I mean, I was staying outside of it just to see. I mean, to make this experiment really clean. Anyway, here is a question. Exactly what I was talking about. Now, you have a sample of how many? 38 people, right? Okay, 30 people. Now they just selected, and you may just prioritize. They are up to routing, security, environmental impact, whatever. How can you assess that let's say this list is relevant to everyone? Would you be able to build a curriculum based on these feedback? How would you do with all other issues around it? Because the list is really huge. How would you allocate resources? I mean, these questions, which I'm really flabbergasted, because that's what many of us face every time we try to understand what the community is up to. So, following this bottom-up process, how would you be able to sort of align your operation so that to make a real impact? So, these are the questions. Can you just explain to me how would you go from this, like from this cloud of concepts the audience wants to know about?
Sure. The intention is to take what we gather both in the surveys and in the discussion and document it into the APrIGF process, and take it forward into a discussion through to the IGF itself. And so that's why we're really keen to hear from everybody in this discussion, so we can document feedback from the community and take it forward. I think from an APNIC point of view, it's a really excellent opportunity for us to engage with the community in this sort of forum and way, to understand what people think about technical training. It is actually fairly unique and unusual to have this type of forum with the community like this. We do a lot of training, but we don't sit down and specifically talk around the challenges of technical training in a relatively structured format like this. I'm just getting a tag from Joyce saying she looks like she's got the results, and Joyce, you could share them with us.
Yep, thanks, Duncan. So I think we've stabilized. This is a real-time look at what people have been putting in, and I see the size doesn't necessarily correlate with how many people input this. So don't worry about the size of each word, but just look at the variety of topics that we have. And as we were going along, I already named a few. So we have routing, we have IPv6, security came up quite a number of times, cybersecurity, DNSSEC also as part of security. There are other things such as surveillance protection, end-to-end encryption. All these are part of security as well. We have network monitoring. There was one on DNS, although it doesn't state specifically what about DNS they would like to know more about. And then we have also other things like cloud computing, blockchain, new technologies, even fake IP technologies. I think that would be something that would be very interesting when it comes to emerging technologies. We also have, for example, Menace, which is on routing security, and cyber policy. So quite a number of different aspects, but I think if we group it broadly speaking, we do see a number of thematic topics coming up. Thanks, Duncan.
Thanks, Joyce. That's great. And I'm really pleased that Sherry Langkawi from Fiji is on the line and able to talk about training and technical training from the perspective of the Pacific. So Sherry, welcome to the discussion. Please go ahead.
Hi, Duncan. I really thank you for having me. I was really just wanting to talk about my experience from the back training project that I did with the APNIC Foundation team between about September and December last year. And this was with about 5 economies in the Pacific. And we went and we spoke to network operators, people in government, private sectors, and mobile operators as well. And we found that in the few days that we had spent in the Pacific Island countries, there was such a demand that even in the last minute, we were asked if we could hold a training, and we were able to put together a training on network security. Some of the topics that were in demand were network security, network monitoring, routing, IPv6, and even cybersecurity. Cybersecurity was requested the most. And because I was the one that was meeting with most of the stakeholders, even after coming back, I'd have people email me or message me, or even when I'd meet up with them again, they'd be giving pointers about, oh, make sure that keeping in mind the context of the Pacific, the trainings need to be at least about half an hour, because that's about the attention span that we have. Also, timings, have it, friendly to our times as well. And we need training. We need training. That was the loudest thing coming out of our consultations, that everybody wanted training of some sorts, and they couldn't attend trainings because timings were not friendly, or internet connectivity were issues, as well as that was mentioned earlier, I think, in the presentations.
Okay, thanks, Sherry. Yes, again, I think it's a really, really useful to get this diversity of perspective about the challenges of the training, and there's clearly a consistent message coming through about the demand for training. I see Champika has responded in the chat. Thanks, Champ, with information about ICANN's efforts to support community participation. So those of you who are interested in what ICANN is doing there, you can have a look in the chat, and Champ's provided a link there. And we've got Jian Tang, who's also highlighted the readout sessions that ICANN do as being very helpful. And so I know that Joyce, I think, has at least one more, maybe two more Menti polls. So Joyce, would you like to go ahead with the next Menti?
Sure. We've got 2 more questions to go. So I have put the Menti link into the chat. If you could click on that, this is a slightly different page. And I'm also going to share the screen so you know where to go. So we are again on menti.com, and the code is different this time. So you have to refresh it and then enter the code again. It's 4830877. The first question is, what is stopping you from attending capacity building events? I see time mostly. Again, you can put in multiple answers, as many answers as you have, as many reasons or excuses as you may have for not being able to attend certain capacity building events. Again, time, I see, seems to be a recurring theme.
Well, maybe while people are responding, Joyce, I do note Leonard's follow-up question in the chat, commenting on the size of the group and how we can take this forward into a meaningful, well-structured and properly delivered curriculum. Leonard, it's a great question, and I think it's something certainly that the foundation is very keen to sort of develop and focus on. I can say that we are really thinking hard in this area, in an effort to not only support the continuing development of APNIC training, but really to respond to the needs of the technical community. As you say, the group that we have here today is while it has a diverse range of views, and we've heard from different organizations and different economies, it can't really represent the entire region. So how do we put it all together? I don't have an answer today. I can say it's something that I agree that needs to be done, and I think we're very keen to develop it, and we're thinking about partners in the region, such as universities and other organizations. We're looking at surveys that have been done already by other organizations, looking at skills assessment across network engineering. So no answers today, but I think you've identified a really key area. And I'm hopeful that this discussion that we have today can contribute through the polls and the documenting of the discussions and the questions that we have, can really contribute into the discussion through the IGF processes.
I see some really good responses. So time definitely is a limiting factor. I see some time zones as well, which is quite interesting because it could be people are trying to go for maybe non-APAC time zone kind of training, And that would be a factor. Maybe some topics are not readily available always in APAC time zone, and that can be quite a limiting factor. I see also lack of operational relevance. Sorry. So the person who put this lack of operational relevance, would you be able to share a little bit more what you mean by that? I'm not sure who it is. If you could raise your hand and just sort of identify yourself.
There's another question here, Joyce, as well. Does the question refer to online or offline events or both?
So I think we can do both online and offline. Definitely. I think it being online is something I think that is quite unique and extraordinary for the current circumstances, but definitely this will not go away. So there will be different type of challenges that you will face, whether it's online or offline. So thanks, Jin Chuan, for bringing that up. Do we know who put that comment in terms of lack of operational relevance? If not, it's also okay. I won't put you on the spot. Don't worry about it. Just wanted to understand and clarify a little bit more. Okay, so I guess this is mostly the type of answers that we have. And I'm going to move on to the next question. Just give me a second to toggle.
Yes, I will, while you're doing that, Joyce, I will just say to the group, we had discussed breakout groups, but we find that the discussion is going along very well. So I'm looking at the clock kindly provided by Christine at .asia that says we've got about 8 minutes in this particular session, just to update everybody. And we really encourage you to get onto the chat. So back to you, Joyce.
Now we have our final question, which is how can we encourage more people to take up technical capacity building? So I think a lot of folks in this room are trainers. So you have, I guess, been thinking a lot about how we could do more outreach and get more people to know about technical capacity building that's happening in the region. So do share your ideas in the box. And also, if you yourself are someone who is keen to take up technical capacity building, but for some reason you have not been able to, or not as often as you want to, what are some ways that we can help you or we can support you to do this? And also think about it from the perspective of APrIGF as a regional IGF platform. Is there something that APrIGF can do to help encourage more people to take up technical capacity building? So I see expose the issues they might not know, encourage the community. Okay, it'd be great to share some tips for how we might do that. Waive registration. So waive registration or waive registration fee, which is a bit different. Increase the relevance to work. I see another one saying relevance. So it could be that the people here feel that they're not receiving enough technical capacity building topics that they feel are directly relevant to their work. And this then brings me back to the first question that we did, talking about technical topics. That would be a great chance for you to let us know exactly what kind of topics would be relevant to you. I see another one, very elaborate one on APNIC Academy, being able to collaborate with other platforms. Thank you for that suggestion. Okay, waive registration fee, fantastic. I think there are a number of online trainings now that basically are free of charge. I know for certain APNIC has always been conducting training and now even online where we do not charge a registration fee. Oh, that is interesting. Create a technical mentor-mentee group. So is this specific to APrIGF or is this something that could be taken outside of APrIGF? would the person who made the suggestion for the mentor-mentee group like to share a bit more what your idea is? I think that's something quite interesting that we could explore further. If you could raise your hand and let us know, or type in the chat, you know, just to elaborate for us, and I can read out your elaboration or your clarification from the chat as well, if you prefer not to speak. Farha, please go ahead.
Hi, Joyce. Am I audible?
Yes, but could you bring your mic a bit closer and speak up? It's a bit soft.
Now? Okay, I propose the technical mentor and mentee groups. For the technical community, basically what happened, you know, sometimes people join the workshops, but sometimes they, I mean, they cannot, you know, reach each other. So it will, if all the groups who gives the technical training, like APNIC Academy or other people like Coursera, so if they all platforms together and give some technical create a mentor and mentees group, so it would be helpful for the people to, you know.
Thanks very much for your contribution, Farha. I think that's an excellent idea. I think so. The concept of a mentor-mentee group is something I think is definitely worth exploring. It's not always easy to integrate it for example, if let's say it's an online training, and then some people might just do the training and then go off, and maybe it goes in 1 year and then it goes out. I'm not sure. But I do believe that the trainers who conduct the training very often get questions even after the training. And this is very prevalent when it's a physical training. When it's an online training, I think it's much harder, especially for the participants to reach out to the trainer to ask questions. Maybe it seems a bit awkward. It's not so awkward when it's a physical event. But I think your idea to have a mentor-mentee group is really an excellent one. And I see somebody else has also put experienced mentors could guide around 10 mentees on technical causes. Even in the APrIGF, for the fellows, there is a mentor-mentee sort of program as well. But this is unfortunately only open to the fellows for APrIGF. But definitely it's a concept that is not new to us. So it's something that maybe we can try looking into. I see another one that says get the support of the employers. And I think that definitely speaks to one of the challenges that sometimes you might be interested in the training, whether it's physical or online. But then you don't have the time off work, or they tell you, you know, they ask you, why is this relevant to my work? That sort of thing. And then it's hard to get the support from employers. So it would be great if you could also, you know, whether in the box or whatever it is, give some ideas for how might we go about doing this? What sort of support would you need to help convince your employers that this training is important? Is there something specific that you would need?
I'm going to have to note the time for everyone. This is a great discussion. And again, getting back to Leonard's point about where do we go from this discussion, because I want to assure everyone that what we're really looking towards, and I think, Joyce, you've started to get close to one with that, the mentor-mentee idea around technical training. What we're looking to come out of this plenary discussion is really one concrete line of action that the APrIGF community can get behind and take forward to rule for other regional forums and be used to focus and follow up on. So we'll be taking everything that we've collected here today, the 3 mentee surveys, the written chat and the recordings, and putting it into a fairly structured review that will look at 3 or 4 different things. You've already seen some of them in Joyce's mentees, but it'll include technical topics, approaches for training delivery, such as face-to-face versus online, barriers to participation is the third one, including things like lack of management support, lack of adequate equipment, the issue of diversity around who gets to travel to face-to-face training, how do people get excluded because of poor connectivity, outreach and access, how do we promote training, how do we make sure it's being heard about by the people who need it, and then the other important area that we'll be putting all this information together in is in what's the actual impact of it. So when I learn something operationally relevant and useful, make sure that management allows me to implement it. So let me wrap it up there, because I do note that I think we've hit our 1 hour time allotment. Let me thank everybody who's participated, but let me thank particularly Che Hu and our other speakers, Champika, Leonard, Sumon, Cherie, and of course Joyce for all her hard work on Menti. I should also recognize Sylvia Cadena, who was the original proposer of this workshop. Sylvia is actually out exploring remote connectivity in isolated communities as we speak, so she wasn't able to participate. But let me thank you all for your participation and support. We've got some really good feedback in this session, and we look forward to staying engaged with you on this important subject. Of course, this is not the end of things. You can still reach out to Joyce and myself over the next day or so, and of course after the conference. But thank you all for your participation. Christine, if there's anything I need to hand over for, otherwise I will end the session.
Hi, Duncan. No, we're good. So thanks for